Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining us. My name is Stephanie Sandala. I'm Programming Outreach Specialist here at Library Link NJ. I'm so thrilled to have you join us for our first event in our summer book bash this year. They're going to go ahead and introduce themselves and share all the books that they have coming out. And Chelsea will go ahead and get us started.
All right, wonderful. Hi, everyone. Welcome to our buzz. My name is Chelsea Abdullah, Assistant Marketing and Publicity Manager at Astra Books for Young Readers, and I am so excited to kick things off with a sneak peek at some of Astra's fall titles. First up, we have next. One More Story Tata, which is a vibrant and joyful picture book that spans 4 generations with a special focus on little Ruby and her great-grandmother. Next. You'll fall head over heels for Ruby and Tata as Tata regales little Ruby with her whimsical storytelling. Through these tales, Tata also introduces Ruby to Shabbat in her own magical way. Next. One More Story Tata is based on the author's own family. Yes, there's a real Ruby and a real Tata who sadly passed away only very recently. The book speaks to the importance of family traditions, slowing down, and of course, the power of storytelling. Next. Here we have yet another super sweet intergenerational story. In this charming picture book debut, you'll follow the story of a Korean-American girl who is impatiently waiting out the harvest season to pick a perfectly ripe persimmon for her grandmother. Next. This sweet book is packed with vibrant illustrations that will put a smile on your face. This spread in particular is a fan favorite, and for good reason, right? Next. This is, of course, a must-have for your AAPI Heritage Month promotions, but it's sure to be a hit year-round too, because who doesn't love a good food book, no matter what your cultural background is, right? Next. From New York Times and indie bestselling author Catherine Arden, author of the beloved Winter Night fantasy trilogy, comes a wonderfully strange picture book debut, The Strangest Fish. Next. This is the story of a little girl who goes to a fair, wins a goldfish, and then finds out, next, that the goldfish is way more than what it seems. This book has all the whimsy of Catherine's fantasy work and is perfect for readers young and old looking for a bit more magic in their lives. Next. In this highly anticipated follow-up to the twice Pura Belpré honor-winning Papa's Magical Water Jug Clock, little Jesus is back, and he has a brand new job. Meet the Chief Plant Officer in care of Mama's beloved plants. Little Jesus is doing a great job keeping his squad of plants watered, entertained, and happy, until an unfortunate incident occurs during a riotous plant dance party. Now Jesus is in full crisis mode. Next. Stand-up comedian Jesus Trejo and Tejana illustrator Eliza Kinks bring us another laugh-out-loud adventure starring a big-hearted little hero with a big lesson to learn. Next. In the vein of adventure classics like Where the Wild Things Are and Jumanji comes Robin's Worlds. Robin gets whisked away on their birthday to a joyful celebration that takes place in a, wait for it, next, fantastical treehouse. This warm-hearted adventure puts a non-binary child front and center and lets them be the main character of their own narrative. Next. Written by a trans-identifying author-illustrator duo, this inclusive LGBTQ+ quest is sure to be a modern classic. Next. Good news, Rosemary Wells is back, this time with 3 short stories of magical kitchen mayhem. Next. Meet the Little Chefs, a troupe of recipe rescuers who are just a secret phone call away. And by secret phone, think like the bat phone, but for kids' cooking emergencies. Each chapter opens with a comical Little Chefs in history note, and next. The pages feature silver ink throughout, appearing whenever the Little Chefs arrive to the scene in their little Zeppelin. The book's compact 8x8 trim size, festive settings, and message of helping others makes this a perfect holiday book. Next. Here's a fresh way to introduce haiku to kids, with action and fun, complete with comic book art from a Disney animator. A giant kaiju, think like Godzilla, wakes up one morning feeling under the weather. He needs help, so he goes off to the city, where, oh no, our poor kaiju is completely misunderstood by the populace. Next. Then a dad and his son arrive on the scene from Kaiju Central, where they've been monitoring the situation, and they might have a solution. Next. This story is told entirely in haiku, is full of classic monster tropes, and is a big-hearted tale of kindness, adventure, and humor. Next. Springtime Storks is based on a true story of two storks whose dedication to each other captured the world's attention. Next. Two mated white storks, in our story they're named Katerina and Luca, are in flight when suddenly Katerina is shot down by a hunter and left injured. Nearby, a man and his granddaughter come running to her rescue, and as they nurse the confused Katerina back to health, a watchful Luca hovers nearby just outside. And there he stays until he feels the coming cold and knows he has to migrate. But Katerina no longer has the ability to fly, and he has to leave her in the care of the sweet family who rescued her. Next. When spring comes back around, Katerina watches the sky for Luca, and, spoiler alert, he does return, as he does spring after spring after spring. Together, they raise a new brood, overcoming Katerina's flightlessness with ingenuity and devotion. This is the sweetest ode to the resilience and love between two migratory birds, with a heart-rending message of conservation. Also, it's told from Katerina's perspective, which makes for an even more interesting tale. Next. Meet Little Tim. He's into sounds and has been collecting them for fun, especially now that the family has just moved into a new neighborhood. His older goth musician sister, Marta, on the other hand, is not as thrilled with the move. Next. Luckily, Tim's trusted sidekick, Frankie the cat, knows of a spooky little place where they might be able to find the perfect sounds to round out Marta's scary music making and cheer her up. And by spooky, I mean totally haunted. Here's the clever Frankie pantomiming the situation to the ghostly inhabitants. Next. Veteran comic book artist Ben Sears injects a dose of freshness to the Toon List with this smart, funny, and big-hearted comic book read. Next. This nonfiction picture book by MLB.com journalist Natalie Alonso and award-winning illustrator Rudy Gutierrez is the inspirational story of Major League Baseball player Roberto Clemente. Next. Roberto grew up in Puerto Rico without a baseball bat, so he swung tree branches and hit tin cans instead. He was always batting, pitching, running, sliding. His dedication paid off when he was tapped by the Pittsburgh Pirates, where Clemente had an instant impact on the field. Some fans loved him, but not everyone was quick to embrace a Black man from Puerto Rico. Next. The book shows the emotional highs and lows of his career as he fought racism, from fans, reporters, and other figures in the sport, to become one of the greatest baseball players of all time. With English and Spanish words intermingled in the text, Call Me Roberto will inspire young readers as they learn about Clemente's contributions to Black, Latino, and American history. This book will also be available in Spanish. Next. And finally, last but not least, from acclaimed author Gail Jarrow comes a spooktacular new release, Spirit Sleuths. In this thrilling new YA nonfiction book, you'll venture into a world of seances, psychics, secret agents, and magic, as you discover the story of how magicians in the 20th century exposed fake mediums. Next. If you've ever read a Gail Jarrow book, you'll know that her nonfiction reads like propulsive true crime novels. Next. And so it surprises absolutely no one that her previous books have won many accolades, including the YALSA Best Nonfiction Award, a Cybert Honor, and many, many starred reviews. Next. And I think this is our final slide. That's it for Mastra. Thank you all so much for listening. My contact info is on the slide if you ever want to reach out about any of our titles.
And then next we have Chronicle. Hi, I am Britt Mitchell. My pronouns are she, her, and I'm the Associate Director of Children's Marketing Publicity at Chronicle Books. And I'm excited to share with you here our upcoming children's books coming this fall from Chronicle. So on the next slide, we'll start with picture books. And so next, first up, we have a brand new book from New York Times bestselling author of Press Here and Mix It Up, Hervé Toulet. This new book is geared towards a bit of an older crowd than Press Here was, but still harnesses children's creativity. Next. Starting with only a finger and some dots, Hervé empowers young readers to create objects like, next, a flower or an entire garden using only simple lines, dots, smudges, and scribbles. Next, This book is an invitation to play and explore using art and your imagination to create whole new worlds, even for the youngest of children. And this one goes on sale October 8th. Right, and then next we have the Ofrenda That We Built by mother-daughter duo Jolene and Cheyenne Gutierrez, illustrated by Gabby Zapata. Inspired by the popular nursery rhyme, The House That Jack Built, and perfect for fans of Coco, this picture book celebrates Dia de Muertes, Day of the Dead. Next. In this warm, familiar story, you'll meet Rosita and her family as they prepare a colorful ofrenda, a home altar full of symbols and meaning for her abuelo. First, they must prepare the cloth embroidered by Ama. Next. Then the papel that graces the cloth, the tamales for the spirits to eat, and the photos of her loving abuelo, who is no longer here. Next. Loaded with back matter, including an author and illustrator note and instructions on how to make your own ofrenda, the Spirited Picture Book is a joyful ode to family traditions and the memory of loved ones who have passed but who we continue to remember. And this one goes on sale August 6th. And then next we have, for fans of the New York Times bestselling series, you get to rejoice because the Goodnight Construction series is back, and we have a new truck, which is the garbage truck, which we're really, really excited about. Next. In Garbage Crew to the Rescue, the construction crew is back, and this time they are teaming up for an exciting new adventure, helping clean up a neighborhood that needs some love. The crew is working with friends, garbage trucks, roll-off trucks, container trucks, and more. Next. To help refurbish abandoned homes, set up dumpsters and garbage cans, sort trash, recycling, compost, and transport the garbage away. We're really excited for this new book from Sherry Dusky-Ringer and A.G. Ford, and know that garbage trucks are very well beloved for many, many kids, and we hope this book is too. This goes on sale September 24th. All right, and then next we'll move into chapter books, starting with Stella and Marigold. This is a brand new full color chapter book series. You can go to the next slide. This is from Ivy and Bean creators Annie Burrows and Sophie Blackall. And this book already has 3-star reviews. We just got one an hour ago, actually, so you're the first to hear. We have late breaking news that we have a 3rd star from Booklist, which was really exciting to receive today. All right, next. This series features 2 sisters, Stella, who is 7. She is kind, a good storyteller, and ponders the big questions like, what do animals think of people? And Marigold, who is 4, who tells imaginative stories that her mother likes to call fibs and likes to wear her favorite Halloween costume all year round. Next. Together, they experience all the regular childhood things like magical bathrooms, snow monkeys, a lost vice president, and so much more. This is such a fun new series that will bring lots of laughter for young ones. And we are so thrilled to have Caldecott medalist Sophie Blackall and her stunning illustrations featured all throughout the book in full color. Stella and Marigold is on sale October 1st. All right, and then next we have a new chapter book, The Story of Gumluck and the Dragon's Eggs by New York Times bestselling author Adam Rex. This is the sequel to The Story of Gumluck the Wizard that was a Kirkus Review's Best Picture Book of 2023 and a 2023 Chicago Public Library Best of the Best Book. It also received 5-star reviews. In this laugh out loud sequel, our silly wizard Gumluck and his friends are back, but this time there is a case of mistaken identity. Helvetica, the very wise raven, accidentally laid her 3 precious eggs in a dragon's nest. Now the dragon thinks that they are hers. How are they going to solve this problem? Well, with a few silly contests, of course. Who will the townspeople love more? Whose breath is more exciting? All the normal types of contests. With many yawns, delightful illustrations, and flat-out goofiness, this chapter book series is perfect for young fans of wizardry, magic, and the special alchemy of friendship, and it's on sale September 10th. And next, we will dive into some nonfiction books that are coming out this fall, starting with The Next Scientist from Kate Messner, and then next, with vibrant illustrations from Julia Quill, this nonfiction picture book showcases over 30 of the world's greatest scientists and what they were doing before they were scientists. Next. For example, did you know that when Isaac Newton was a boy, he built kites to fly on breezy days and a sundial to keep track of time? Or that before June Proctor became a zoologist, she loved drawing, and when she was 10, she designed a house for a lizard she brought home from a family vacation. Next. With extensive back matter, including further reading and a list of favorite books from scientists, this is a book to show kids that they too can be a great scientist of the future. And this goes on sale August 27th. All right, and next is a new book from Killer Underwear Invasion author illustrator Elise Gravel. Using her trademark humor and punchy art, this book explores the human brain unlike ever before. Next. Though all of our brains look like squishy wads of chewing gum, everyone's brain works differently. And because every brain is different, it means that we all think and feel differently, because as this lovely graphic says, we're all unique, baby. Next. And understanding how different brains feel and learn can help us connect with others and keep our brains happy. Humorous with fun comic strip style appeal, This Is My Brain is an accessible nonfiction picture book that celebrates uniqueness, empathy, and neurodiversity, and it is on sale October 29th. And then this next stunning picture book about the building of the iconic San Francisco landmark, the Golden Gate Bridge, from National Book Award finalist, Zybert Medal winner, Elizabeth Partridge. Next. Told from the point of view of the lighthouse keeper's kids who watch in fascination as the trucks and crews arrive and blueprints start to lay out, this picture book gives a thrilling visual perspective of each stage of the famous bridge being built. What I find so beautiful about this book is Ellen Huck's illustrations. I'm on the spread here, or the spread before on the previous slide. You can see how the blueprint is laid out right there at the bottom. And then on this next slide, as the children watch the red towers begin to rise over the water, you see the bridge towers also come into view at the bottom. It is both a beautifully told story narratively as well as through its art. Next. And filled with factual details, this is a beautiful ode and celebration of the mighty bridge and a story of perseverance and the potential of human ingenuity to defy odds and make the impossible possible. All right, next. The last title I'd like to share with you is All About US by Matt Lamothe and Jenny Volvolsky. This nonfiction picture book is truly amazing. It is a companion to Matt's This Is How We Do It, which featured a day in the life of 7 kids around the world. This book features 50 kids across the US, one from every single state. Next. The research Matt and Jenny did for this book is truly mind-blowing. With the help of educators and librarians, they were able to host an open call and interview kids across the nation to be featured in this book. For example, in Illinois, they found Majid, age 9, who lives with his family in a 1-bedroom apartment with impressive views of Lake Michigan, who attends a Muslim school and runs on the state's track team and plays cello with his brother in the Hyde Park Youth Symphony. Next. With extensive back matter, including a full look into the process of the book and pictures of the real-life kids who contributed, this illustration-packed nonfiction children's book depicts a diverse collection of families, homes, and dreams, highlighting what makes each child's world so unique yet so familiar. And this one goes on sale very soon, August 6th. And next. And that's all from me. Thank you so much for listening. If you have any questions, my email is on the slide, but I'll put it in the chat too. And then we also have Lynette Kim is our new school and library manager. And so I'll put her information too if you wanted to connect with her. Great. Thank you all so much.
Hi, everyone. Thanks so much for having us, you guys. So yes, I'm Carrie. I'm the marketing publicity coordinator at Levine Querido. If any of the titles that we talk about interest you, you are super welcome to reach out to me for advanced copies or anything that you want to look at. You can go ahead and click next. So we're starting out with middle grade and YA. This one is first because we just have some exciting buzz coming for it. This is Mishka. Edward van de Vendel was just recently a finalist for some pretty major national awards, and we have done one of his books before, translated from Dutch, but this one I think we're all especially excited about. It is in collaboration with Anoush Elman, and it is a refugee story set in the Netherlands, but about a refugee family who adopt a rabbit named Mishka, and it really has the feeling of like an instant sort of timeless classic. I don't think we have any of the illustrations in here in this presentation, but the beginning of each chapter has a beautiful little illustration, and as you can see here, Kirkus was very taken with it, which as we all are. It's just completely charming. So it's fun to addition to our many translated books. You can move on to the next one. This is Golem Crafters by Emmy Watanabe Cohen. For anyone familiar with Emmy, her first book, The Lost for You, came out a couple years ago, and she's only 26. She's kind of an amazing person in her accomplishments. This is her sophomore novel. It is Emmy herself is Japanese and Jewish, and for anyone who knows Arthur, President, you know, representations of intersectional Judaism are very important to him. This is like Emmy's last book, the protagonists share her background, and it's a brother and sister who get pulled into a family secret involving magic, and so it has sort of that middle grade like discovery of secret magic and lineage storyline, kind of in the veins of Percy Jackson, but it's lovely, it's very sincere. And we're just really excited to have Emmy in our roster because we think she's going to do great things. Can move on to the next one. The Art Thieves. So if anyone is familiar with Man-Made Monsters by Andrea L. Rogers, came out a couple of years ago. It was a Walter Award winner for YA and was a collection of short horror stories, personal favorite of mine. And this is Andrea's next book. It is sci-fi, indigenous futurism involving time travel. It's the year 2052, and like Andrea's previous book, it centers on Cherokee characters, and in this case, a girl named Stevie Henry who's working at a museum in Texas in a world fraught with drought and superstorms, and so we're already in the future, and then a mysterious boy shows up at her museum saying that he's from the even further future and warning her about catastrophes to come. She refuses to believe him at first, but soon she will have no choice. So thus comes a very exciting time travel novel that is just, I mean, I am just Andrea's biggest fan, so it's wonderful to get to do. All right, next slide. This is The Forbidden Book by Sasha Lamb. And for anyone who's a fan of When the Angels Left the Old Country, that book was the Stonewall winner for YA and a Prince honor and the Sydney Taylor winner for YA. So other than that, this is Sasha's next book. Not to keep reiterating what big fans we are of these writers, but I think Sasha's prose is just incredible, and they keep getting better and better. You know, sort of, as you may be familiar with from When the Angels Left the Old Country, Sasha's specialties being queer and genderqueer Jewish fiction. This is also like historical fantasy about a 17-year-old girl named Sorrel who is engaged to be married, doesn't want to be, leaps from a window the night before her wedding and takes on the identity of Isser Jacobs. But it soon becomes clear that there's a real Isser Jacobs that people want dead. So she's now got this mistaken identity that people are out to get. And it takes her into the dark underworld of her small city. And there are smugglers and forgers and wicked angels. And there's potential love interest. And and so she's got this sort of mystery plot she needs to solve. And so, yeah, all the things that we love about Sasha Lamb just really concentrated in one book. And that's young adult as well. Can move on. This is the first title in our new imprint that we've launched called Relit, which is putting books back into print that have since fallen out of print that we think deserve continued spotlight. This is the very first one. It is a collection of Virginia Hamilton's writing. So, you know, the incredible children's literature giant who won a Newbery Medal and honor and a National Book Award and a Coretta Scott King Award and a Children's Literature Legacy Award and a Hans Christian Andersen Award, etc. And this book brings together her essays, speeches, and interviews reflecting on writing in children's literature, Black representation in children's literature, both industry-wise and in the literature itself. And so we've repackaged it, and it's really gorgeous in person. There's a foreword by Laura Pegram, an introduction by Dr. Rudine Sims Bishop, and then we also have a really gorgeous illustration in the front by Caldecott winner. So it's you know, it's a really gorgeous thing to hold. I think we're marketing it as adult just because it is going to appeal to a lot of people in the industry, we think, but it would make a really good pick for educators as well in terms of like learning about children's literature. So if that's of interest, you can move on to the next thing. All right, now we're moving on to picture books, finishing with the bang of visuals. So this is coming out next month, fittingly August, Song for August, The Inspiring Life of Playwright August Wilson. So this is a picture book biography, following him through his childhood, where he found creative inspiration in everything he encountered in library books, music, art, conversations that he overheard in restaurants, and barbershops in Pittsburgh, where he grew up. So this is a very Pittsburgh-centered book, and his journey to becoming one of the great American playwrights. So you can page through some of the you can move on to the next slide. We've got some illustrations here. This is a really great one for, well, first of all, just any picture book biography collection, but also anyone who is, any child who is a budding creative, you know, and reading and taking in things and pulling in inspiration. It's a really cool to see how that can play out. You can move on to the next slide. And I think we have one more illustration. Yeah. So it's wonderful. Can we move on to the next one? This is Makers by Young Vo. Young Vo wrote Gibberish, which is still one of our most popular titles, which was about an immigrant boy's first day of school in a country where nobody speaks his language, and the girl who helps him make sense of it all. This is Young's next book. He's an author, illustrator. This is also a friendship story, but this time it's about two boys who want to build a boat together, but they struggle to work together because their brains work very differently. One has tons of great ideas, like really wild imagination, but he has trouble with quality control and following through, like actually making something out of his many, many ideas because he's so scattered all the time. And the other is meticulous and a perfectionist, but he's so perfectionist that he can't finish anything and sort of lacks the inspiration and impetus. So only when they learn to work together and use their respective strengths, they finally build a dream boat. So, I mean, I think this actually like comes up in conversation. You can, while I'm talking, you can page through the 3 illustrations that we've got here. This comes up in conversation a lot, actually, because I feel like we lately just keep having conversations about different ways of sort of thinking and creating, and how different personalities and different brains are important to have in the same space. And Makers keeps coming up because it's such a great example of how these different brains have different strengths and that it's important for them to be able to work together. The different characters, I love it. All right, you can move on. So this is Quill the Forest Keeper by Maria Tolman, and this is also a translation, and it is its most like incredible asset is just the incredibly beautiful art. So I'll tell you about it, but if you could just page to the next one so that we can see. Yeah, you can stay there for a second. So this is a story within a story. You've got Grandpa Hedgehog telling the story of the Rush era, which is, you know, basically the era we live in now, when everyone's constantly on the move and no one has time to stop for a moment, even to care for the forest. Everyone except for a tiny hero named Quill, also a hedgehog, who is a gentle soul with a mission to teach the rushing world to stop and smell the flowers before it's too late. And so it becomes a story of Quill inspiring his fellow animals of the forest to take care of the environment they live in. So it's an environmental story with really, really gorgeous illustrations. And the way that Tolman does these, risographs are her specialty, which is she was inspired on a family trip to Scotland. So she took all these photos of the Highlands and printed them in these gorgeous colors, and then went over them with, you know, paint and colored pencil with the little animals. So you can move on to the next one. So you've just got these super charming details that kids, I mean, I know when I was a kid, I loved being able to pick out weird little things that were happening in the background. Yeah. And I mean, the book in person is just so gorgeous. The colors are even more vibrant than they look here. It's a 5th color. So for those who don't know, it's a special production term for when something is printed especially neon. And so it just is super eye-catching. Okay, you can move on. Chooch helped. This is a book that is very dear to my heart, and I know to Antonio, our marketing directors as well. It's mostly because it is the most gratifying book to show to people because we had exactly one copy at ALA that was an advanced copy that we were very protective of, and every time we showed it to someone, there would just be a gasp, which was the most gratifying feeling. This is actually also Andrea Rogers who's writing The Art Thieves, but this is her first picture book, and there's also a Cherokee illustrator, Rebecca Lee Coons, who this is her first ever picture book, this artist, and we sort of can't believe it because like it feels like she was born to make this. She has a visual arts background, like she's not she hasn't done picture books before, but this is so you can go to the next one just to show you an example. So this is a story of a little girl who has a little brother named Chooch, and he wants to be involved in everything she does, like classic younger sibling, right? And in the process, you do get to learn about some Cherokee cultural practices. So, whether they're painting a mural or making dumplings or clay pots or digging for crawdads, Chooch always wants to be involved, and her parents infuriatingly always say he's just helping, even though he always messes up their hard work in some way. You can move on to the next one. She finally snaps at him, and her parents scold her, and she goes to her room and cries, and then Chooch comes in and helps by coming to comfort her in a very sweet moment. So it's totally about the ups and downs of a older sibling, younger sibling relationship when you're getting used to the younger one's presence. You can move on to the next one. With just these really gorgeous collage style illustrations, and the way that they've been printed is lovely too. They sort of glow. It also weaves in Cherokee motifs and symbols throughout. We have a lot of the two languages side by side for a lot of the book for keywords. All right, you can move on to the next one. This is Aiko and the Planet of Dogs. We have been really in our quirky era recently, just doing a lot of like fun, what's the word we keep using? Zany. We keep doing really zany picture books. And this is like Exhibit A. It is about a girl astronaut named Aiko, and you can move on to the next slide, who is specially trained to brave the extremes of space. But she finds a planet that shows signs of life, and something goes awry, and she wakes up and finds that the planet is inhabited by a pack of talking dogs. They are descended from the Astra dogs who first traveled in space, but they've since cut off all contact from Earth and found a new planet where they can live far away from their former masters. You can page the next one. So to that end, they decide to keep Aiko a prisoner on their planet rather than let humanity find them again. So the conflict is, how is she going to convince the dogs to let her go? You can move on to the next one. And I've got her on a leash there. It's really hysterical, quirky picture book, but it's the writing is very funny and clever. The illustrations are so fun. I mean, I was just talking to or actually one of my coworkers, Renee, who many of you may know, translated this book from the French. So we were just talking about how they've looked at this book so many times and never noticed how many dogs there are hidden in the background. Like there will be like little huts that the dogs live in, like look like little dog heads, and it's just full of great details like that. And of course the plot involves her saving them from an evil catfish, and that is how she ends up winning their hearts. They decide to let her go, and she decides to keep their secret and let them live in peace. You can move on to the next one. This is to go to an extremely different tack here. This is Coming Home, a Hopi resistance story. So Mavasta is a really revered artist in the wood carving community, which is a community that I had not been previously familiar with, but we've been talking to him a lot recently, and it's just so cool to hear about. Nick, our editor, has been wanting to do something with him forever, and this is kind of the culmination of that effort. And it's his grandfather's story, his grandfather who he learned wood carving from. So Mavasta's grandfather, like many Native American children in the late 19th and early 20th century, was forced to leave his Hopi reservation as a child and go to a residential boarding school, where the government cut his hair and punished him for speaking his native language and gave him a new name. But this is, you know, a story about how he never forgot who he was or where he came from, and his eventual escape, and teaching and passing on his sort of life wisdom and wood carving to his son and then his son's son, who is Mavasta. And so it's a deeply, deeply personal book. You can move on to the next one. Written in both English and Hopi, side by side, that features original painted wood carvings. We've been very deliberate with the production of the book in terms of making sure that the wood carving comes across and you can see sort of the texture when in the printed version. There are very few picture books about residential boarding schools, like at all. And this book really sensitively tells the story for young readers. It also has back matter for both for the boarding schools and for there's a great section in the back that has pictures of Mavasta doing the wood carvings and explains his process. So, you know, for any budding young artists out there, it would be cool to see. All right, can keep going. This is just a reminder that we have a Spanish imprint where we do a lot of our titles translated into Spanish. These are titles we originally published in English for the most part. Sometimes, occasionally, we do a simultaneous publication in English and Spanish. This is not the whole list. So you could find on our website, levinequerido.com, we have a whole section for our Spanish editions. So if you're interested, and for anyone who wants, you know, bilingual books, we have both the English and the Spanish editions available. So anything that we have in Spanish is also available in English. You can keep going. Thank you so much. Again, I'm Carrie. You can reach me at carrie@levinequerido.com. Follow us on social media. It's Levine Querido everywhere. And thank you so much, you guys, for having us.
Yeah, thanks, Carrie. That was great. I also agree with the comment that I think Ico and the Planet of Dogs would be a good film. I love those pictures so
Yes.
much. I was looking
Yeah,
at it,
like
I was
an like an animated, a fun, weird animated film. Yeah, no, completely. I completely agree.
yes, that was fantastic. Thank you so much. Yes, and one last time, thank you, Carrie, Chelsea, and Britt, so much for being here. We're so happy to have you.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for having us.